they won't stand a chance. But first, we got to get to them horses.
Horses? What the hell are you talking about?
Cover me!
Shooting their way out of a tight spot in Silverado, the new Western that's one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program. I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. In addition to Silverado, we'll also be reviewing the teenage time travel adventure Back to the Future. It's another Steven Spielberg production. Also, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the third Mad Max futuristic adventure film starring Mel Gibson. But first, Roger begins with an adventure film set not in the future, but in the past.
It's set in the past, all right. That moment in movie history between the introduction of horseback riding and the obsolescence of the brass brassiere, known as sword and sorcery. Our first movie is named Red Sonja, and this one gets the prize against some very tough competition as the single silliest sword and sorcery movie since The Black Shield of Falworth. This one is so inept there are times when it's actually fun, especially when the actors struggle through dialogue that sounds like they've already read the Mad Magazine parody of this film. The movie stars Bridget Nelson as Red Sonja, a woman warrior who embarks on a crusade to avenge the terrible deeds done to her by an evil queen. And in this scene, Arnold Schwarzenegger turns up to demonstrate that she'll never walk alone.
I will tell the future in your entrails, Red Woman.
I know my future. You have none.
Watch out, Sonja! I just love that. Later on, they fall in love, which is a little complicated, since she has taken a vow never to love a man who cannot defeat her in battle. And, as Arnold argues, not unreasonably, if he defeats her in battle, there's not going to be much left for him to love. Here's the big confrontation between the 2 women in the film, Red Sonja and Queen Gedren, played by Sandel Bergman.
You are a fool. We could have ruled the world together. Now I shall rule alone, and you will die for what you did to me. What I did. You slaughtered my parents like cattle. My brother, my sister. Vermin! What were their lives compared to this? You are mad. The talisman will destroy you.
It's been a long time since I've heard a line like, "You're mad, the talisman will destroy you." Meanwhile, they're dropping dirt directly in front of the lens.
Exactly.
You know, right there, it's inches away from the camera. It's supposed to be falling on them.
You know what I saw when I saw that scene? I was thinking, you know what? If they'd only had plastic surgery back then in the Middle Ages, the movie would have been over.
But how about her sister, my brother, my family? Not only did she wipe out her family, but she also killed her sister and her brother.
Yeah, but they were vermin.
Now that's really going to. There were times during this whole movie when it was so ridiculous that I really did think it might be a satire of sword and sorcery movies, just like Airplane took on Airport. I love that line that they have in the movie. Yeah. If you want to be a great swordsman, you must have a great sword. Very thoughtful. Also, the way the movie respects the single greatest unwritten law of sword and sorcery movies, which is that when the hero is surrounded by 36 enemies, they always come at him one at a time. They get in line once at a time so he can pick them off instead of they could all just jump on him and kill him, which, of course, they never do, because then the movie would be over, which would be too much to hope for.
And my favorite moment, I guess, but see, I didn't for a minute believe this was unintentionally funny. I thought this was just bad movie making, to be clear about that.
Well, it's a thin line.
No, I say that when you take a figure, a religious figure like a Buddha, and you place him, and this was, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect, but
I wonder how you're going to be able to describe this.
Well, let's put it this way. The Buddha in this film that they have near the camp looks like...
How does he look, James?
The Buddha looks like...
Now we know why he looks so contented, right?
Oh, I guess you got to see the movie. I don't want to say that because I don't see the movie. The Buddha looks like he's going to the bathroom.
Thank you very much. Coming up next at the movies, our next film.
This is more serious than I thought. Apparently your mother is amorously infatuated with you instead of your father.
Whoa, wait a minute. Doc, are you trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
Get my reaction to Back to the Future out right away. Along with a very different Prizzi's honor, this is my favorite film of the summer movie season. If I had the ability to make lighthearted pictures for the teen and young adult market, I'd hope I'd have the ability to make a film as enjoyable as Back to the Future. I really think it's that good. Back to the Future is a time travel movie, a category I usually hate because, you know, they're never really going to change things when they go back in the past, because that would mean that the future that we saw at the beginning of the film would have had to have been a lie, right? So there's no suspense there. But, and I won't dare say how, Back to the Future managed to beat that problem, and it fooled me, and it delighted me in so doing. The time travel comes about when a high school kid played Michael J. Fox from the TV show Family Ties bumps into his good friend, a wacky scientist, at the local mall.
You made it! Yeah! Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
And, of course, the experiment is the time travel, and I love that touch, the DeLorean motor car, as we see right there.
A car that was ahead of its time.
Very good, Rod. That was Christopher Lloyd as the scientist, and he's pretty good in a convincing variation on Jerry Lewis's Nutty Professor. This time machine does work. It transports young Marty back to 1955, to before he was born, to where he wants to set up a date, it turns out, between, get this, his mother-to-be and his father-to-be. But his mom would rather go out with him. Neat idea.
Lorraine?
Calvin!
I'd like to meet my good friend, George McFly. Hi. It's really a pleasure to meet you.
How's your head?
Oh, good. Fine.
Oh, I've been so worried about you ever since you ran off the other night. Are you okay? Oh, it's hurting. I'm sorry I have to go. Come on! Isn't he a dreamboat?
Doc, she didn't even look at him.
This is more serious than I thought. Apparently your mother is amorously infatuated with you instead of your father.
Whoa, wait a minute. Doc, are you trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me?
Precisely.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy, and it's funny. Just hope you got it there. Those two people that he was trying to put up together at the lockers, those were his parents as teenagers. Now, this relationship is played out in the film for laughs and for sexual danger, the relationship between him and his mother, and even at the end of this film, for some teary emotion. What would you say, if you think about it, meeting your mother as a teenager? What would you feel if you saw your parents as young people? What a thrill that would be. And this film, rather than being helter-skelter action picture, which it could have been, holds on that moment. I credit the director, Bob Zemeckis, for having the sensitivity, the smarts, to make this something bigger than just a laugh-a-minute special effects picture. There's a real heart to this film. Back to the Future has all that emotion, a most clever and funny and interesting script written by Bob Zemeckis and his partner, Bob Gale. And the writing here, I think, is really the star. This script couldn't have been ruined if it had been directed by the director who did Red Sonja, if it had starred the cast of Red Sonja. So I guess I've made my point. Back to the Future receives my highest recommendation as a film.
Pretty good screenplay. And like all good screenplays and all good movies, it starts out with something of universal interest, which is, in this case, what would it be like to meet your parents, as you pointed out, when they were kids? Because I think everybody grows up thinking, my parents were never young. And the fact is, the parents, this is the secret parents have from kids, they don't think they're ever old. And so this movie plays with that paradox in such a beautiful way that it's not just a time travel picture, not just an action picture. I agree with you. It's a picture almost like Frank Capra would have made, in which the underlying message of this communication between the generations is kind of
I just hope that this,
beautiful.
I hope that this title, Back to the Future, doesn't put off adults, or even when I said in the beginning, teen and time travel and young adult, I can't imagine anyone not liking this film. I really think this is a very special picture.
I mentioned Capra. You know the Capra picture it reminds me of? You can probably guess. It's a Wonderful Life.
You bet.
Because here's the case, once again, of somebody finding out through some kind of magical intervention that things aren't so bad, and that they can even be kind of good. Next at the movies, Silverado, a new Western that wants to capture the Indiana Jones spirit in the Old West.
The world is what you make of it, friend. If it doesn't fit, you make alterations.
I'll drink to that.
His name's Silverado, and it's a Western, which means it's probably only one of about 7 or 8 Westerns we've even had a chance to review during all the years we've been doing this show. One of the great Hollywood genres, and it's a rarity. Hollywood doesn't know if there's still a market for Westerns, but I think there is a market for this one, which has a lot of high energy and action and good acting. Here's a scene from early in the movie. Scott Glenn and Kevin Kline have ridden into a frontier town only to discover that their buddy is in jail.
What's going on here?
You got me. This is a crazy town, isn't it? I think we ought to just get out of here. I mean, all I did was kiss a girl.
Why they got you in jail?
Yeah. Well, I kissed a girl, and this guy didn't like it, and so then we had some words, so I decided to get out of there. So I did. I got out of there. You know me, I don't want no trouble. And so I walked out in the street, and this fella tried to shoot me in the back.
You had to kill him?
No, I winged him, and he dropped his gun.
You're in here for winging the guy.
No, not exactly, because see, that a friend opened up on me.
Well, what friend's that?
It was the one with the shotgun. The dead one.
That was John Cleese who said the dead one there. He's the sheriff in that town. And Kevin Costner was the young kid hanging from the bars. He, all through the movie, does some very strange physical things. In the nearby town of Silverado, the sheriff is not a law and order guy like John Cleese, though. He's a crooked gambler played by Brian Dennehy, who runs everything in town, including the saloon, which is managed by Linda Hunt in a really good performance. Dennehy thinks maybe he'll replace her assistant manager with Kevin Kline.
Kelly, we're going to make an adjustment. I wanted you to be here when I offered Peyton your job. I think he could do it without getting greedy. Stella and I are tired of you skimming our profits.
What are you talking about?
I'm done talking, Kelly. Get out.
You can't do this.
Really?
Oh.
How about it, Peyton? You want the job?
So you're an understanding boss.
Well, nothing like that would ever happen between us.
Maybe we ought to ask Stella.
You'd be welcome.
No, Kelly, he'll kill you.
That's Linda Hunt right there at the end. Remember her from The Year of Living Dangerously?
Fine performance, fine actress.
Really great presence in this movie, too. Silverado was directed by Lawrence Kasdan, whose last movie as a director was The Big Chill. But more to the point, Kasdan is the man who wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark. And in Silverado, he's trying to recapture some of the same spirit of the golden age of the movies, when an age when the Westerns weren't filled with symbols and allegories and deep meanings. There was simply a lot of action and a lot of fun. Silverado is like that. Great performances, high energy, interesting, quirky characters, in a traditional Western plot. I liked it, and one of the things I liked was the way that he really turns up the gain on everything, just as in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The colors are brighter, the sounds are sharper, the moments of action are sharper edged, and so it's just sort of like they took a Western and turned up the heat.
Well, the technology has improved in the 30 or 40 years, and this film shows it. I didn't like it quite as much as you did. For me, that Kevin Costner character, the one hanging around, he's sort of playing Dickie Smothers, I think, is what it looks like. I thought that was an unnecessary character, probably thrown into some appeal to the youngsters in the audience. I would have cut back a few of the characters here, and I think I would have made it a better film, a little tighter film. Our clips didn't show the great outdoors, but you're right. That, to me, is the appeal of the film, frankly, seeing horses splash in the water again, in the snow again, side shots of the horses. It's okay, is what I want to say, and that's all.
Well, I think it's better than okay, but I will say about the outdoors, this movie was shot in America.
Right.
And oddly enough, that's a rarity for Westerns, because most Westerns are shot, it was shot in New Mexico, most Westerns are shot in Spain in the last 20 years. Because
or Mexico.
Or Mexico, because it's much cheaper there, and so you get some of the landscape here that kind of rings a bell somewhere in your subconscious, and you remember, gee, that's the same kind of mountain or the same kind of prairie that we used to see John Wayne on.
Just to make my point clear, fewer characters, more of Kevin Kline. I thought he was really interesting.
Okay, coming up next to the movies, we return to the post-World War III world of Mad Max, a world where water and fuel and gentle people are all in short supply.
Films have been energetically directed by George Miller, but they've been previously known just as action pictures. This one, however, has a lyrical side in the middle and at the end, as well as a great sense of humor and a great sense of fashion, punk style.
Thunderdome. Two men, hand to hand. No jury, no appeal, no parole. Two men enter, one man leaves.
Weapons?
Anything is possible. Chance decides.
Thunderdome. How do I get in there?
That's easy. Pick a fight.
To another edition of Thunderdome!
Well, it sure beats Family Feud, although actually that is sort of a little family there, and there is quite a feud with an amazing battle sequence. Max is going to have to do her bidding and defeat a cruel monster known as the Master Blaster, which is a big guy on the bottom and a little guy on top. This you got to see. Then he's going to serve later in the film as protector to a group of surviving innocent young people before once again he has to do battle, as he always does in his films, out on the open desert road. Now, that sort of looks like the other two Mad Max films, but this one really has a lot more going for it than those two. Kids are going to want toys out of this film. People are going to dress like out of this film.
I think Tina Turner probably was able to dress out of her own clothes closet and report directly to set.
I think they may have recruited some people from the London tube stops that I've seen on my last trip there. What is amazing to me is when a director successfully creates a complete alien world on film, unlike anything we've seen before, and director Miller, working with co-director George Ogilvy, certainly has done that. Mad Max is his name, Beyond Thunderdome, is a great, violent, fun picture.
It is I think it's even better than that. I think it's going to go on my list of the 10 best films of the year. I was overwhelmed by the wealth of new ideas they came up with in the third picture. You'd think it'd be a recycled
that's what I thought, yeah.
idea. The whole idea of the Thunderdome gives them two things I've never seen in an action picture before: a new place to put the audience, which is over the top of the dome, and a new way to fight by putting the people on elastic bands, so they have a 3- or 4-dimensional, if you will, fight instead of regular punching it out. And then the you didn't mention the power source of Thunderdome, which is methane gas from the pigs who live in the basement. Now, that alone...
Well, that was very clever and very, very funny. I also like, remember that film, The Man with the Incredible Two Brains, or Incredible Two Heads? What
the
was
Man
that?
with Two Brains?
I don't know what it was.
The Thing with Two Heads?
No, with Rosie Greer and Ray Milland.
How could I ever forget it?
Okay, now that stunk, right, as an idea with somebody
I agree with you.
Look at how he works it in this film. He's got a big hunk and he's got a little midget. Now the midget's the brains, the guy's the brawn, and it works. It's clever. I mean, this is funny stuff.
The big guy that we saw there at the beginning who was giving the rules of Thunderdome.
Right.
He's like Sidney Greenstreet. This whole world is as rich as Casablanca or as rich as Oz. It is a world that has all of these characters, and now with this one, not with the other two. I can see how they can. I want to see the fourth one, and I don't like sequels. So I guess
that's a pretty high recommendation.
Guess so. Let's take another look at all the movies we reviewed this week. We both voted thumbs down for Red Sonja, a sword and sorcery epic that was laughably bad. 2 thumbs up, though, for the funny and exciting Back to the Future about a high school kid who visits his own parents when they were teenagers. 2 more thumbs up for Silverado, the new Western with Scott Glenn and Kevin Kline. Had some of the classical Western magic. I liked it more than Gene. And 2 more thumbs up for Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, an incredibly exciting and original action epic that I think is one of the year's best films, and I guess pretty much a toss-up as to whether you might.
Well, I like it a lot, but I'm saying Back to the Future without question.
Okay.
And Silverado, I'm just sort of giving it a pass, I think, really, because I liked it more than Pale Rider and certainly more than Rustler's Rhapsody. To say it's the best Western around now isn't really that much of a compliment.
Okay.
That's it for this week. Next time we'll be back with a special program we're calling Sequels Part 2. Sequels Part 2. 4 movie sequels that prove that once was more than enough. That's next time, and until then, we'll see you at the movies.